Before I begin, if you like emotional human stories that stay with you, hit subscribe so you never miss another one. I should have known something was wrong when Lily stopped screaming. For 3 months, that little girl had filled the Thornhill mansion with her rage, shrieking at physical therapists, throwing water glasses at nurses, sobbing into her silk pillowcases until they had to be changed twice a day. But the morning I walked into her room with fresh linens and found her staring at the ceiling in absolute silence, her small hands folded across her chest like a corpse, I felt my blood turn cold. My name is Camilla Reyes. I'm 43 years old, and I've been a live-in housekeeper for the Thornhill family in Brookline, Massachusetts for 7 years, long enough to watch their daughter grow from a wild, dancing 6-year-old into a paralyzed 13-year-old who'd forgotten how to hope. I came to Boston from Oaxaca when I was 19, worked 3 jobs to send money home, and eventually found my way into domestic work for families wealthy enough to need someone invisible. That's what we are, people like me. We fold their underwear, scrub their toilets, learn their secrets, and stay invisible. The Thornhills lived on Marsh Street in one of those historic colonial homes that cost more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes. Maxwell Thornhill made his fortune in biotech, something about gene therapy patents that I never fully understood, but that had earned him a profile in Boston Magazine and a reputation as one of the city's most brilliant minds. His wife, Victoria, came from old Connecticut money and spent her days on nonprofit boards and Pilates classes in Back Bay. They were the kind of couple who looked perfect in photographs and barely spoke to each other at breakfast. Lily was their only child. Before the accident, she'd been training at the Boston Ballet School, one of the youngest students ever admitted to their pre-professional program. I used to watch her practice in the third-floor studio her parents had built, her small body defying gravity, her face lit with pure joy. She'd spin and leap and then collapse onto the floor laughing, and I'd bring her cut oranges and tell her about my own daughter back in Mexico, about how Rosalba used to dance at festivals in our village. Then came March 14th, a Saturday afternoon. Lily and 3 other ballet students were driving back from a competition in Providence, Rhode Island. Their instructor, a woman named Oksana Fedorova, who danced with the Mariinsky Ballet, was at the wheel of her Volvo SUV on Interstate 95. A semi-truck driver, later found to have methamphetamine in his system, crossed the median near the Attleboro exit. Oksana died on impact. 2 of the students walked away with minor injuries. The third, a girl named Hannah Chen, broke both legs, and Lily, beautiful, brilliant Lily, suffered a traumatic spinal cord injury at T12. The doctors at Massachusetts General Hospital said she'd never walk again. That was 6 months ago. Now it was mid-September, and the house had become a mausoleum. "Good morning, Lily," I said softly, setting down my cleaning supplies. "I brought you some of that tea you like, the chamomile with honey." She didn't respond, didn't even blink, just kept staring at the ceiling where someone had pasted glow-in-the-dark stars years ago, back when she still believed in magic. I moved around the room quietly, changing the water in the vase of white orchids Victoria replaced every 3 days, but never actually brought in herself. That was my job too. I picked up the books that had been left unread on her nightstand: Jane Eyre, The Secret Garden, some young adult novel about a girl with cancer. Victoria kept buying books about overcoming adversity, as if literature could cure paralysis. "Your mother wants you to try the new physical therapist today," I said, pulling back the curtains to let in the morning light. "Dr. Chen says she's supposed to be very good. Worked with Olympic athletes." Nothing. Not even a flicker of interest. I'd seen this progression. First the anger, then the bargaining, then the depression. But this was different. This was resignation. This was a 13-year-old girl deciding she was already dead. The thing about working in someone's home is that you see everything. You hear the fights they think are private. You read the mail they leave on the counter. You understand the fault lines in their marriage, the resentments they've built over years, the ways they fail each other quietly. Maxwell had thrown himself into his work, spending 18-hour days at his lab in Cambridge and sleeping in the guest room when he came home. Victoria had started drinking wine at lunch and seeing a therapist 3 times a week, and Lily had stopped believing that anyone, doctors, parents, God, could save her. But I had something they didn't have, something that the Thornhills, with all their money and connections and Harvard-educated specialists, couldn't access. I had my grandmother's knowledge, and I had desperation. That evening, after the family had eaten their separate dinners in separate rooms and gone to their separate corners of the house, I went to my small bedroom on the fourth floor, originally servants' quarters from when the house was built in 1887, and pulled out the wooden box I kept under my bed. Inside were things I'd brought from Oaxaca, a bundle of copal incense, dried herbs my abuela had taught me to identify, small stones from the river near our village, a piece of cloth embroidered with symbols I'd learned before I even learned to read, and the amulet. It was made of black stone, obsidian, my grandmother called it, carved into the shape of a hummingbird and suspended on a leather cord. She'd given it to me the day I left for America, pressed it into my palm with hands that shook from age and arthritis. "This belonged to your great-great-grandmother," she'd said. "She was a curandera, a healer. The gift skips generations sometimes, but it's in your blood, Camila. When you need it, you'll know." I'd worn it for years, hidden under my clothes. It had seen me through loneliness, through heartbreak, through the grief of missing my own daughter's childhood while I raised someone else's child. But I'd never used it the way my grandmother had intended, never tried to channel whatever power she believed ran it through our bloodline. Until now. I knew what I was risking. The Thornhills were secular, educated people who'd laugh at anything they considered superstition. If Victoria found out I was performing some kind of folk ritual over her daughter, I'd be fired immediately, probably blacklisted from working for any family in Brookline. At my age, with my limited English and undocumented status, yes, I'll say it plainly, I'd never find comfortable work. I'd end up in one of those exploitative house cleaning services, making minimum wage, no benefits, no stability. But when I closed my eyes, I saw Lily's empty face, that terrible resignation. And I thought about my own Rosalba, now 24 and working as a teacher in Oaxaca, and how I would have burned down the world to save her if she'd needed saving. So I made my decision. I gathered what I needed: a small cloth bag, herbs for protection and healing, a prayer written in Spanish on paper I'd tear into pieces, and the obsidian hummingbird. Working by candlelight, I assembled the charm the way my grandmother had taught me, whispering the words she'd made me memorize. Para la niña que no puede volar, devuélvele sus alas. Para la niña perdida en la oscuridad, muéstrale la luz. For the girl who cannot fly, return her wings. For the girl lost in darkness, show her the light. I sewed the charm into a small pouch no bigger than my palm, pulled the drawstring tight, and sat with it for an hour, pouring every ounce of hope and love and desperation I had into that little bag. I thought about Lily before the accident, her laugh, her fierce determination, the way she'd hug me after school and chatter about her ballet classes. I thought about the future she'd lost, and I prayed to whatever force my grandmother had believed in that this would work. At midnight, when the house was finally silent, I crept down the stairs to Lily's room. The door was unlocked. Victoria had removed all the locks after Lily's first suicide attempt, a bottle of her mother's Ambien that I'd found just in time. Lily was asleep, her breathing shallow, her body barely making an impression under the expensive Italian sheets. Her wheelchair sat folded in the corner like a monument to everything she'd lost. I approached the bed slowly, carefully, my heart hammering so hard I was sure it would wake her. Then I lifted her pillow, just an inch, and slipped the charm underneath, positioning it near where her head rested. For a moment, nothing happened. Lily slept on, and I felt foolish. What was I expecting? Lightning? A miracle? This was just herbs and stone and the desperate prayers of a middle-aged housekeeper who'd watched too much suffering. But then Lily's eyes opened. Not slowly, not groggily. They opened wide and bright, and she turned her head to look directly at me in the darkness. "Camilla," she whispered, "I can feel my legs." I froze. The room suddenly felt 20 degrees colder. The hairs on my arms stood up. "Lily, you're dreaming," I said softly. "Go back to sleep, mija." "No." She pushed herself up on her elbows, something she hadn't had the strength or will to do in weeks. "I can feel them. They're tingling, like they're waking up. I should have called her parents, should have pressed the emergency button that connected to their rooms. But something stopped me. Some instinct that said this moment was fragile, that flooding it with doctors and questions and clinical observation would shatter whatever was happening. Tell me what you feel, I said instead, sitting carefully on the edge of her bed. It's like when your foot falls asleep and then the feeling starts coming back. That pins and needles feeling. But it's both legs, from my knees down. Her voice cracked. Camilla, I haven't felt anything below my waist in 6 months. The doctors said the nerves were too damaged. They said it was impossible. The doctors don't know everything, I heard myself say. Sometimes the body heals in ways science doesn't understand yet. She was crying now, tears streaming down her thin face. She'd lost so much weight that her cheekbones jutted out sharply. Can you help me sit up more? I want to see if I can move them. I propped pillows behind her and watched as she stared down at her legs beneath the sheets, her face twisted in concentration. For long minutes, nothing happened. Then, so subtle I almost missed it, her right foot twitched. Lily gasped. Did you see that? Did you see it move? I had, unless we were both hallucinating. I had seen her foot move. Don't tell anyone yet, I said quickly, surprising myself. If this is real, if the healing is starting, we don't want to jinx it. Let's see what tomorrow brings. She grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. What did you do? I felt something change right before I woke up, like warmth spreading through my body. What did you do? I could have lied, probably should have, but looking into her desperate, hopeful eyes, I told her the truth. I put a charm under your pillow, I said, a healing charm from my grandmother. It's probably just coincidence, Lily. The doctors say sometimes there's spontaneous improvement in the first year after. It wasn't coincidence. She was smiling now, really smiling, for the first time in 6 months. My abuela in Connecticut believes in this stuff too. She's always trying to get Mom to burn sage and use crystals, and Mom rolls her eyes. But abuela says her mother could cure warts just by touching them. She says some people have the gift. Your mother would fire me if she knew. Then we won't tell her. Not yet. Not until we're sure. She squeezed my hand again. Thank you, Camilla, for not giving up on me. I left her room 20 minutes later, my mind spinning. What had I done? If this was real, if she was actually healing, I'd perform some kind of miracle. But if it was just placebo effect, just false hope, I'd be cruel for letting her believe. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay in my narrow bed, holding the duplicate charm I'd made for myself, praying I hadn't made everything worse. The next morning, Lily was sitting up in bed when I brought her breakfast. Not just propped up with pillows, actually holding herself upright with her core muscles. I can feel up to my hips now, she whispered when I set down her tray, and I moved both feet 3 times. Real movement, not just twitches. Over the next week, I watched the impossible happen. Lily's sensation returned inch by inch, creeping up her legs like spring returning after a long winter. By day 4, she could bend her knees. By day 7, she could stand for 10 seconds with support. We kept it secret. During her sessions with the new physical therapist, a stern woman from South Boston named Margaret O'Connor, Lily pretended to still be paralyzed. When her parents checked on her, she lay still and listless. But when we were alone, she practiced. She fought. She hoped. Why are we hiding this? She asked me one afternoon while I helped her do exercises in secret. Shouldn't my parents know I'm getting better? Because adults ruin things, I said. They'll want to study you, test you, figure out what happened. They'll bring in specialists and journalists, and everyone will have a theory. But this healing, it's yours, Lily, yours and mine. Let's protect it until it's complete. But secrets in the Thornhill house never stayed secret for long. The person who discovered the truth wasn't who I expected. It was Marcus Webb, Maxwell's business partner, and the chief operating officer of their biotech company, Helix Therapeutics. He was at the house for a dinner meeting, one of those working dinners where Victoria served expensive wine and barely touched her food while the men talked about stock prices and FDA approval timelines. Marcus was in his early 50s, handsome in that silver fox way that wealthy white men often achieve, and he'd always made me uncomfortable. He looked at the household staff too long, stood too close, asked personal questions that felt like intrusions. That night, he'd gone upstairs to use the bathroom, even though there was a powder room on the first floor. I was coming out of Lily's room after delivering her evening tea when he appeared in the hallway. "Working late, Camilla?" he said, his voice carrying a tone I couldn't quite read. "Just checking on Miss Lily, sir." "How is she?" "Maxwell says she's been very depressed. Won't even try with the physical therapist anymore. She's doing as well as can be expected." He moved closer, and I smelled bourbon on his breath. "You know, I've always admired how dedicated you are to this family. 7 years, right? That's loyalty. That's rare. If you'll excuse me, I have work to finish downstairs." I tried to move past him, but he touched my arm. Not aggressively, but enough to stop me. "I saw her walking, Camilla, just now, through the crack in the door. She was walking from her bed to the window." My blood turned to ice. "That's impossible," I said. "Miss Lily is paralyzed." "I know what I saw." His eyes were sharp now, calculating. "And I'm wondering what kind of treatment she's receiving that Maxwell and Victoria don't know about. Because if this is real, if she's actually recovering, that's a medical miracle. That's the kind of case study that could change everything we know about spinal cord injuries." "Sir, I think you're mistaken. Perhaps you saw her physical therapist." "Don't insult my intelligence." He released my arm but didn't step back. "Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to Maxwell. I'm going to tell him what I saw, and then we're going to bring in the top neurologists in Boston to examine his daughter and figure out what's causing this spontaneous recovery. Because at Helix, we're developing gene therapy treatments for paralysis patients. And if there's some factor in Lily's healing that we can isolate and replicate." "No." The word came out sharper than I intended. "You can't tell them. Not yet." His eyebrows rose. "And why not?" "Because they'll take her healing and turn it into science. Because they'll stop believing in miracles and start believing in patents. Because some things aren't meant to be quantified and replicated and sold." But I couldn't say any of that. "Because she's not ready," I said instead. "The recovery is very new, very fragile. If you flood her with doctors and tests and pressure, you could reverse the progress. Please, Mr. Webb, give her another month. Let the healing solidify. Then you can bring in whoever you want." He studied me for a long moment. Then he smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. "I'll give you 2 weeks, he said, "because I like you, Camilla, and because I think there's something interesting happening here. But in 2 weeks, I'm telling Maxwell everything. And if I were you, I'd make sure that girl can walk perfectly by then. Because if this turns out to be some kind of hoax you've orchestrated, some desperate ploy for attention or money, you won't just lose your job. You'll face criminal charges for interfering with a minor's medical care." He walked away before I could respond, leaving me shaking in the hallway. I went straight to Lily's room and locked the door behind me. "We have a problem," I said. She was standing by the window, actually standing, her legs supporting her full weight for the first time in 6 months, looking out at the darkening street. "I know, I heard everything. Can you walk? Really walk?" "I can shuffle. I can take maybe 20 steps before my legs give out. But Margaret says full recovery from paralysis takes months of physical therapy, even when spontaneous healing occurs. My muscles have atrophied. My neural pathways need to rebuild. Even with a miracle, I'm not going to be dancing in 2 weeks." I sat down on her bed, my mind racing. "Then we need a different plan. Or we need a bigger miracle." She turned to face me, and in the dim light, she looked older than 13. She looked like someone who'd been forced to grow up too fast, to understand things about pain and hope, and the way the world tries to turn everything extraordinary into something it can monetize. "The charm under my pillow," she said. "Can you make it stronger?" "Lily, I don't even know if that's what healed you. It might be spontaneous neural recovery." "It might be. It was the charm." Her voice was firm. "I know it was. The night you placed it there, I had a dream about my great-great-grandmother. She was dancing in a place filled with light, and she took my hand and said, The old magic still works if you believe. When I woke up, I could feel my legs. That wasn't coincidence. But making it stronger? I don't know how. My grandmother taught me the healing charm, but she never said anything about amplifying it. And even if I could, there are risks. I'll take them. She moved toward me, her gait unsteady but determined. Because the alternative is letting Marcus Webb turn me into a lab rat, letting my dad's company study me and probe me and try to patent whatever is happening inside my body. I won't be their miracle, Camilla. I won't be their proof of concept. I understood what she was saying. I'd spent 7 years watching the Thornhills treat everything, art, food, even their daughter's education, as something to optimize, monetize, and control. They loved Lily in their way, but they'd also pushed her into ballet not because she loved it, but because having a daughter at Boston Ballet School was prestigious. They'd enrolled her in private schools and exclusive summer programs, not because of what she'd learn, but because of the connections she'd make. If Marcus Webb told them about her healing, they wouldn't see a miracle. They'd see an opportunity. There might be a way, I said slowly, but I'd need supplies, specific herbs that don't grow in Massachusetts. Copal incense from a real curandero, not the tourist stuff, and, I hesitated, I'd need to contact my grandmother in Mexico. She's 91 years old and she doesn't have a phone, so I'd have to ask my daughter to visit her and relay messages. It would take time. How much time? A week, maybe less. Do it, Lily said. Whatever you need. I have money saved from birthdays and holidays, almost $8,000. Use it for supplies, for phone cards, for whatever. Lily, I can't take your money. You're not taking it. I'm investing it. In both of us. She grabbed my hands, her grip strong now, strengthening every day. We're going to prove that some things can't be turned into products, that some magic is real and mysterious and belongs to the people who carry it in their blood, right? Looking at her fierce, determined face, I felt something shift in my chest. For 7 years, I'd been invisible in this house. Useful, but unseen. Necessary, but unacknowledged. But Lily saw me, really saw me, not as a maid or an immigrant or someone to be managed, but as a person with power and knowledge and worth. Right, I said. We'll do it together. That night, I called my daughter Rosalba in Oaxaca. The connection was bad, crackling with static, but hearing her voice made my eyes water. Mama, is everything okay? You never call this late. I need you to visit Abuela Lucia, I said. Tonight if you can, tomorrow at the latest. Is she sick? No, mija, but I need you to ask her something for me. It's about the healing charm she taught me. I need to know how to make it more powerful. There was a long pause. Mama, what's happening? Are you in trouble? I'm trying to help someone, a girl who's paralyzed. The charm is working, but I need it to work faster, stronger. Can you do this for me? Another pause. Then, I'll leave first thing in the morning. But Mama, be careful. Abuela always said the old magic comes with a price. You can't take without giving. You can't heal without sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? She never told me exactly, but she said that when her mother did the strong healings, the ones that should have been impossible, she always got weaker afterward. Like the healing took something from her own life force and gave it to the patient. I thought about this, thought about what I'd be willing to give to see Lily dance again. I understand, I said. Tell Abuela I'm ready to pay whatever price is required. Mama, I love you, Rosalba. Tell her tomorrow. Don't wait. I hung up before she could argue. The next few days were tense. Marcus Webb didn't visit the house again, but I could feel his presence like a sword hanging over us. Maxwell worked even longer hours, coming home only to sleep. Victoria started seeing her therapist 4 times a week instead of 3, and Lily practiced walking in secret, her strength growing, but not fast enough. On the 3rd day, Rosalba called back. I spoke to Abuela, she said, her voice strange. She said she's been waiting for this call for 20 years. She said she knew you'd eventually need to use the gift. What did she say about making the charm stronger? She gave me a list of ingredients. Some of them are easy. Herbs from her garden, Spring water from the river? But Mama, there's one thing that can't be substituted. She says you need to add your own blood to the charm. Not a lot, just 3 drops. But it has to be given willingly, with full understanding of what you're offering. What am I offering? She wouldn't say exactly, just that blood is life. And when you give your life force to fuel a healing, you shorten your own time. She said her mother died at 54, young for our family. Her grandmother died at 49. They were both powerful healers who used their blood in the strongest charms. I was 43 years old. How much time? I asked. She doesn't know. It depends on the person, the healing, how much life force is required. Could be years, could be months. She says you'll feel it though. A tiredness that doesn't go away. A weakening. I thought about Lily's face when she'd first felt her legs again. The hope that had returned to her eyes. The future we were fighting to give her back. Tell Abuela I accept the price, I said. And thank you, mija, for doing this. Mama, please think about this. I already have. Send me the list. I'll find everything I need. Over the next 4 days, I gathered the ingredients. The herbs I ordered from a botanica in Jamaica Plain that served the city's Latin American community. The spring water I collected from a protected source in the Blue Hills Reservation, driving there at dawn when no one would see me. The copal incense came from a Oaxacan woman I met at a market in East Boston, who recognized something in my eyes and asked no questions when I explained what I needed. And in my room alone, I sterilized a needle with a lighter and pricked my finger 3 times, letting blood drops fall onto the cloth where I was assembling the new charm. Each drop looked black in the candlelight. I whispered the words my grandmother had taught me, adding the ones Rosalba had relayed: mi sangre por su sanación, mi vida por su futuro, que el milagro se complete. My blood for her healing, my life for her future. Let the miracle be completed. The charm felt hot in my hands. Not burning, but warm, like it was alive. I wrapped it carefully and waited for midnight, when I could place it under Lily's pillow and replace the original. But before midnight came, everything changed. Victoria knocked on my door at 11:30 p.m., something she'd never done in 7 years. When I opened it, she was standing there in her bathrobe, her face pale, holding a glass of wine. "Camilla," she said, "we need to talk about my daughter." And part 1, part 2. I stood in the doorway of my 4th-floor room, the new charm hidden in my pocket, feeling like a criminal caught in the act. Victoria Thornhill had never climbed these stairs before, never acknowledged that I had a private space, a life beyond my uniform and duties. Seeing her here, swaying slightly from the wine, felt like a violation of the invisible boundaries that kept our worlds separate. "Mrs. Thornhill," I said carefully, "is everything all right? Does Lily need something? Can I come in?" She didn't wait for an answer, just pushed past me into the small room. It was neat. I'd been raised to keep things orderly, but sparse. A single bed, a dresser, a lamp, a photograph of Rosalba from 5 years ago that I looked at every night before sleeping. Victoria's gaze swept over it all with an expression I couldn't read. "You've lived here 7 years, and I've never seen this room. That's awful, isn't it? You've been very respectful of my privacy, ma'am." She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Respectful, that's a kind word for it." She sat on my bed without asking, and I saw that she was crying. Not dramatically, just tears sliding quietly down her face while she stared at the photograph. "Is that your daughter?" "Yes, ma'am, Rosalba. She's 24 now. She's beautiful. You must miss her terribly. Every day." Victoria took a long drink of wine. "I'm a terrible mother, Camilla. You know that, don't you? Everyone knows it. I see the way the other parents look at me at school events. I saw the way the nurses at MGH looked at me when they explained Lily's care requirements. They all think I should be more involved, more present. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. But the truth is, I don't know how to help her. I don't know how to fix this. Maxwell, he thinks science will solve everything, and maybe it will. But science doesn't help me know what to say when my daughter looks at me like she's already dead. Science doesn't tell me how to be the mother she needs." She looked up at me, Her eyes red. But you know, somehow you know. She talks to you. She smiles at you. You're more of a mother to her than I've been for years. Mrs. Thornhill, don't be polite, Camilla. I'm not fishing for compliments. I'm stating a fact. She set down the wineglass on my dresser. Marcus Webb called Maxwell tonight. He said he saw Lily standing in her room, walking. Is that true? My heart stopped. I don't know what Mr. Webb thinks he saw. Don't lie to me, please. I'm asking you directly, woman to woman, mother to mother. Is my daughter healing? The room felt too small suddenly, too hot. I could feel the charm in my pocket burning against my hip. She's showing some spontaneous improvement, I said slowly. Some sensation returning. Small movements. But the doctors said that could happen in the first year. How much movement? Mrs. Thornhill, I really think you should discuss this with... How much? Her voice was sharp now, cutting through my evasions. Can she walk? Not well. She can stand, she can shuffle, but she's weak, and it's unpredictable. Some days better than others. Victoria stood up abruptly, swaying. Why didn't anyone tell me? Why didn't she tell me? Because she was afraid of disappointing you if it didn't last. Because she wanted to be sure before she got anyone's hopes up. Because I stopped, unsure how much truth to reveal. Because she doesn't trust me, Victoria's voice cracked. Because I failed her so badly after the accident that she'd rather share the most important development in her recovery with the maid than with her own mother. That's not... It's exactly that. Don't protect me, Camilla. I don't deserve it. She picked up her wineglass again, drained it. Marcus wants Maxwell to bring in a team from Harvard Medical School. Neurologists, researchers. He thinks if they can study Lily's case, figure out what's causing the improvement, they could develop new treatments, patent them. He's already talking about clinical trials and FDA approval timelines. And what do you want? The question seemed to surprise her. She stood there blinking at me like I'd asked something in a foreign language. What do I want? Yes, not Maxwell, not Marcus Webb. What do you want for Lily? For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then, I want her to dance again. I want to see her face light up the way it used to when she'd nail a difficult turn. I want her to have the future she was supposed to have before some drugged-up truck driver destroyed everything. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And I want to be the kind of mother she can trust with her secrets. I made a decision then. Maybe it was the wrong one. Maybe it would cost me everything. But looking at Victoria's broken face, I realized she wasn't the enemy. She was just another woman drowning in circumstances she couldn't control, trying to save a daughter she didn't know how to reach. Come with me, I said. I led her down the stairs to Lily's room. The house was quiet. Maxwell still at his lab. The night nurse Victoria had hired gone for the evening at Lily's insistence. I knocked softly on the door. Lily, are you awake? Your mother is here. A pause. Then, come in. We entered together. Lily was sitting up in bed, reading by lamplight. When she saw her mother, surprise flickered across her face, followed by something like fear. Mom, what are you doing here? Marcus Webb told your father he saw you walking, Victoria said. Is it true? Lily looked at me. I nodded slightly. Show her, I said gently. She deserves to see. Slowly, Lily pushed back the covers and swung her legs over the side of the bed. She was wearing shorts, and I could see the muscle atrophy in her thin legs, the way they trembled with effort. But she planted her feet on the floor and stood up. Victoria gasped. It's not much, Lily said. I'm still weak, but I can walk a little. She took 3 steps forward, away from the bed. Her gait was unsteady, her arms out for balance, but she was walking. Really walking. Then 4 more steps. 5. 6. Victoria started crying in earnest now, her whole body shaking. Oh my God, baby. How is this possible? I don't know. Lily took another step, then another, making her way to where her mother stood. The doctor said it shouldn't be happening. But it is. When she reached Victoria, she stopped, breathing hard. Mother and daughter stood facing each other, close enough to touch, but not touching. 7 years of distance between them. I'm sorry, Victoria said, for not being there, for not knowing how to help you, for being so wrapped up in my own fear that I couldn't see your fear. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Lily's face crumpled. I thought you were ashamed of me, because I wasn't perfect anymore, because I couldn't dance and couldn't walk, and I was just this broken thing that reminded you of everything that went wrong. Never. Victoria pulled her daughter into her arms, and Lily collapsed against her, crying, Never, never, never. You're my girl, my beautiful, strong, brilliant girl. Broken or whole, dancing or still, you're everything to me. I turned to leave to give them privacy, but Victoria stopped me. Wait, she said, still holding Lily. Camilla, I know there's more to this story. I know my daughter's recovery isn't just spontaneous neural healing. I saw something in your face upstairs, and I'm asking you, as someone who clearly loves my daughter, what's really happening here? I looked at Lily. She nodded. So I told Victoria everything, about the charm, about my grandmother's teachings, about the healing tradition that ran in my blood, about the price I was willing to pay to see Lily whole again. Victoria listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said something I never expected. Show me how to help. Mrs. Thornhill, this isn't something you can... I'm not asking to perform magic, Camilla. I'm asking how I can support whatever you're doing. Because clearly, it's working. And clearly, you care more about my daughter's well-being than about your job security or what I think of your methods. So tell me what you need. Protection, I said. Marcus Webb is going to push for medical intervention. When he does, we need time for the healing to complete. 2 weeks, 3 at most. If we can keep the doctors away that long, I think Lily will be strong enough that they can't turn her into a research subject. But how do I explain her improvement to Maxwell? You tell him the truth, just not all of it, Lily said. She'd pulled away from her mother but was holding her hand now. Tell him I've been practicing in secret because I didn't want to fail in front of everyone. Tell him the physical therapist noticed increased sensation, and that's encouraging but still needs time to develop. Make it sound medical enough that he feels in control, but slow enough that he doesn't call in the Harvard team yet. Victoria nodded slowly. I can do that. Maxwell likes to feel like he's managing situations. If I frame it right, make him think the careful, measured approach is his idea. She looked at me. What else? I need to replace the charm under Lily's pillow tonight. The new one is stronger. It should complete the healing within a week, but it's going to be intense. She might have pain, might have symptoms that look concerning. I need you to trust me through that. What kind of symptoms? Fever, muscle spasms, maybe hallucinations or dreams that seem very real. The body is rebuilding neural pathways, and with magic accelerating the process, there are side effects. Victoria paled. Is it safe? I don't know, I admitted. My grandmother said her mother lost patience sometimes. The magic would be too strong, or the person wasn't meant to heal, and something would go wrong. But she also said you could feel it. If a healing was going to work, you'd know. And I feel it with Lily. I know this will work. But you don't know for certain. No, not for certain. Victoria looked at her daughter. Lily, it's your decision. If you want to wait, do the conventional therapy. Let the healing happen naturally. It won't happen naturally, Lily interrupted. The doctors have been pretty clear about that. They think what's happening is impossible. Without the magic, I'll stay like this, able to shuffle a few steps but never really whole. With the magic, she looked at me. Camilla believes I can dance again, and I believe her. Then we do it, Victoria said firmly. Tonight, and I'm staying with her through whatever happens. Is that all right, Camilla? I felt tears burning in my eyes. This wealthy white woman who'd never once asked my advice on anything was now asking my permission to care for her own daughter. Yes, ma'am, that would be good. She shouldn't be alone. And you, Victoria studied my face. This price you mentioned, this sacrifice, you're going to pay it, aren't you? I touched my pocket where the charm rested. I already have. What does that mean? It means some things are worth more than time, I said. Some things are worth whatever they cost. At midnight, with Victoria watching, I placed the new charm under Lily's pillow. The moment I did, the temperature in the room dropped sharply. Lily's eyes rolled back and she began to shake. "Is this normal?" Victoria demanded, grabbing her daughter's hand. "I think so. The magic is working through her body. She needs to ride it out." For the next 6 hours, we sat vigil. Lily shook and sweated and cried out in what sounded like ancient languages. Victoria never left her side, never stopped holding her hand, never stopped whispering that she was there, she wasn't going anywhere. Her daughter was going to be fine. And I felt it beginning. The tiredness my grandmother had warned about. Like something essential was draining out of me through invisible channels, flowing from my body into the charm, from the charm into Lily. My life force traded for hers, my years given so she could have her future back. It was worth it. At dawn, Lily's eyes opened, clear, focused. She looked at her mother, then at me and smiled. "I can feel everything," she whispered. "My legs, my feet, my toes, everything. It's like being plugged back into my own body." "Can you move?" Victoria asked. Lily lifted her right leg, then her left, bent both knees, flexed her ankles. The movements were shaky but deliberate, controlled, real. "Oh my God," Victoria breathed. "Oh my God, it's really working." Over the next 3 days, Lily's strength returned exponentially. By the second day, she could walk across her room. By the third, she could walk down the hallway. By the fourth, she was insisting on trying the stairs. "Slowly," I warned, supporting her on one side while Victoria supported her on the other. "Your muscles are still rebuilding. Don't push too hard." "I feel like I could run a marathon," Lily said, but she was breathing hard from the effort of descending the staircase. "This is incredible. How did your grandmother learn to do this?" "Her mother taught her, and her grandmother before that. The knowledge passes down through the women in our family." "Will you teach me?" Lily asked suddenly. "When this is over, will you teach me some of the basic things? I know I don't have the gift, but I'd like to understand it." I looked at Victoria, expecting her to object. Instead, she said, "That's a lovely idea, if Camilla is willing." "I'd be honored," I said, and meant it. But even as we celebrated Lily's progress, I felt my own strength fading. I was tired all the time now. Bone-deep exhaustion that no amount of sleep could cure. I'd lost weight I couldn't afford to lose, my clothes hanging loose on my frame. When I looked in the mirror, I saw my grandmother's face staring back at me, the face she'd had in her 70s, though I was only 43. Victoria noticed. "You're sick," she said one afternoon, cornering me in the kitchen. "Don't deny it. I can see it." "It's the price," I said simply, "for the strong magic. It takes life force." "How much?" "I don't know. Years. Maybe more. This is my fault. My daughter's healing is killing you. And it's my fault because I let you do it. You didn't let me do anything. I chose this. Then unchoose it. Stop the magic. Let her heal the rest of the way naturally. She's already so much better. She's not finished yet. Another 3 days and she'll be completely healed. If I stop now, she might stay at this level, never fully whole. I won't do that to her." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "I won't let you die for my daughter, Camilla. I won't carry that weight." "Then don't think of it as dying. Think of it as balancing the scales. I got 24 years with my daughter, and I missed most of them while I worked to support her. You have the chance to have all the years with Lily that I didn't have with Rosalba. Take them. Make them count." "That's not fair." "Life isn't fair, Mrs. Thornhill. We both know that. But sometimes when we're very lucky, we get to choose what we sacrifice and who we save. I'm lucky. I got to make this choice." Before Victoria could respond, Maxwell came home early from work, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. "Where's Lily?" he demanded, his face red. "Marcus just told me she's been walking for over a week, that you all kept it from me. Is that true?" Victoria and I exchanged glances. "Maxwell, let me explain." "No explanations. I want to see her. Now." We found Lily in the music room on the first floor, a space that had been closed since the accident because seeing the piano in her old ballet bar was too painful for everyone. But now she was standing at the bar, one hand resting on it, going through the positions she'd learned years ago. First position, second, third, fourth, fifth. Her movements were tentative, her muscles weak from months of disuse. But the fundamental skill was there. The grace, the control. Maxwell stood in the doorway, frozen. "Dad," Lily said, turning toward him. "I was going to tell you, I just wanted to be sure it was real first." "How?" His voice cracked. "The doctors said, I know what they said, but sometimes healing happens in ways science doesn't understand yet." "You've always told me that. That's the whole point of your work at Helix, right? Finding solutions to impossible problems?" It was a clever appeal to his ego, and I saw it land. Maxwell's face softened slightly. "Come here," he said, and Lily walked to him. Actually walked, her gait nearly normal now. When she reached him, he pulled her into a fierce hug. "My girl, my brilliant girl, we're going to figure out what's causing this recovery, and we're going to help so many other people." "No," Lily said, pulling back. "We're not turning this into a research project, Dad. This is my healing, my body, not a case study." "Lily, be reasonable. If there's some factor in your recovery that could help others, then they'll find it some other way, through someone else, but not through me. I just want to be a normal kid again, to go back to school, to dance, to have a life. I don't want to be famous for being the girl who miraculously recovered. I don't want to spend the next year in hospitals being studied. I want to be left alone. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. For you," Lily shot back. "For your company, for your career. But what about what I want? What about my life?" The fight that followed was spectacular. Maxwell insisted. Lily refused, Victoria sided with her daughter, and finally Maxwell stormed out, declaring he was calling Marcus Webb and setting up meetings with the top neurologists in Boston, whether Lily consented or not. "Can he force me to do the tests?" Lily asked after he'd left, her face pale. "You're a minor," Victoria said slowly. "Legally, yes. He has medical decision-making authority." "Then we need a different plan," I said. That night, the three of us, Victoria, Lily, and I, sat in the kitchen drinking tea and plotting. It was strange the way class boundaries had dissolved. We were just three women trying to protect something precious from men who wanted to quantify and control it. "What if I go public first?" Lily suggested. "I could post a video saying I'm recovering naturally, thanking my doctors and physical therapists, but being very clear that I'm not interested in being studied. If it's already out there, it takes away Dad's control over the narrative." "That could work," Victoria said. "But we need to be strategic about it. Once you're public, every news outlet in Boston will want to interview you. Every researcher will want access. We need to control the message carefully." "I could help with that," I offered. "In my community, we know how to keep secrets, how to deflect questions, how to present a surface story that satisfies outsiders while protecting the truth underneath." Victoria looked at me with new respect. "You've been navigating these waters your whole life, haven't you? Being invisible while seeing everything, protecting yourself while living in spaces where you're never fully safe." "Yes, ma'am. It's a skill you learn when you're an immigrant, when you're undocumented, when your entire existence depends on powerful people not looking at you too closely." The word undocumented hung in the air. I'd never admitted my status to Victoria before, never given her that power over me. But now, with my life draining away to heal her daughter, there didn't seem to be much point in secrets. "I'm not going to report you," Victoria said quietly. "I'm going to help you get documentation, real documentation. Whatever you need, lawyers, paperwork, fees. I'll handle it. You've given everything to save Lily. Let me give you something in return." I felt tears sliding down my cheeks. "Why would you do that?" "Because you're family, Camilla. Maybe you've always been family, and I was just too blind and privileged to see it. But I see it now." Lily reached across the table and took both our hands. "So here's the plan. Tomorrow I make a video. We post it on social media, then we prepare for the attention. but we do it as a team. All three of us. Agreed? Agreed, Victoria and I said together. The video went viral within hours. Lily, sitting in her wheelchair with the windows of the Brookline mansion visible behind her, speaking directly to the camera about her recovery, her gratitude, and her desire for privacy. The comments section exploded. News outlets picked it up. By evening, reporters were camped outside the house. And Marcus Webb called an emergency meeting. He arrived the next morning with 3 lawyers, 2 researchers from Helix Therapeutics, and a neurologist from Massachusetts General Hospital. They sat around the dining room table, a table I'd polished hundreds of times, and presented their case for why Lily needed to participate in a comprehensive study. This isn't about exploitation, Marcus said smoothly. This is about advancing medical science. Lily, you have the opportunity to help millions of people who suffer from spinal cord injuries. Don't you want that? What I want, Lily said, and I was proud of how steady her voice was, is to finish healing, to go back to school, to be 13 years old again instead of a medical curiosity. You're being selfish, one of the researchers said. How can you refuse to help others when you've been given this gift? Because it's not a gift, Lily shot back. It's my body, my healing, and I don't owe it to anyone except myself. The argument escalated. The lawyers mentioned legal options. Marcus brought up Maxwell's authority as her father. The neurologist warned that refusing to participate could be seen as obstructing medical progress. And then Victoria stood up. Get out of my house. Everyone fell silent. I said, get out, all of you. You're not doctors here to help a patient. You're businessmen trying to protect an investment. And my daughter is not an investment. She's a human being who's been through hell and is finally healing. So get out of our house and don't come back unless you're invited. Marcus turned to Maxwell. Are you going to let your wife throw away this opportunity? Maxwell looked at Lily. Really looked at her, maybe for the first time in months. Saw the fear in her eyes, the way she was holding herself rigid like she might shatter. Saw his daughter, not a case study. I think, he said slowly, that my wife is right. Lily's well-being comes first. Everything else is secondary. You're making a mistake, Marcus said coldly. A massive mistake. This could have put Helix on the map. Could have made us the leaders in neuroregeneration research. But fine, throw it away for sentimentality. Just remember this conversation when your competitors beat us to market with the next breakthrough. He gathered his lawyers and researchers and left. The silence after the door closed was deafening. Maxwell turned to his family. I'm sorry. I got caught up in the science, in the possibilities, and I forgot what mattered. Lily, I'm sorry. It's okay, Dad. It's not okay, but I'm going to do better, starting now. He looked at me then, standing in the corner of the room where I'd been observing quietly. Camilla, Victoria told me what you did, about the charm, the magic, the price you're paying. I don't understand it. It doesn't fit with anything I know about medicine or biology. But I can't argue with the results. You saved my daughter when all our science and money couldn't. Thank you. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. And I want to help, however I can. Victoria mentioned immigration lawyers. Let me handle that. Let me make sure you're protected, documented, compensated for everything you've done. That's very kind, Mr. Thornhill. It's the least I can do, the absolute least. Over the next 3 days, Lily completed her healing. By day 6, after I'd placed the second charm, she could dance. Actually dance, not the tentative movements of someone relearning their body, but real ballet, pirouettes and jetés and arabesques that made Victoria cry and Maxwell applaud. And I grew weaker. The tiredness became something I couldn't hide anymore. I'd fall asleep in the middle of the day, forget what I was doing mid-task, look in the mirror and see a stranger's face, aged and hollowed out. Rosalba called every day now, begging me to stop the magic, to save myself. But I told her the same thing every time. It was almost finished. Just a little longer. On the 7th day, Lily woke up completely healed. She came running into the kitchen where I was sitting with tea, and actually running, her movements fluid and strong. Camila, look, I'm perfect again. Everything works. I'm really, Truly healed. I smiled, though even that small movement exhausted me. I'm so glad, Mija. So glad. She looked at me then, really looked, and her joy crumbled. Oh no, what have we done? You look like the magic worked, I finished. Like the healing is complete. That's what I look like. But you're so weak, you can barely sit up. We need to get you to a hospital. No hospitals. I'm not sick, Lily. I'm just tired. The magic took what it needed, and now it's done. I'll be fine. But we both knew I was lying. Victoria called in a private doctor who examined me, ran tests, and found nothing medically wrong. My organs were fine, my vitals were stable, but I was wasting away, my body using up its reserves to fuel the healing I'd performed. How long? Victoria asked the doctor quietly, thinking I was asleep. Hard to say. Her body is shutting down like someone with advanced age, but all the normal mechanisms are intact. I've never seen anything like it. A few months maybe, possibly less. A few months to see Rosalba one more time. A few months to know that Lily would dance again, would have the future she deserved. A few months knowing I'd chosen this, that my life had meant something. It seemed like enough. But Lily didn't accept it. She researched obsessively, looking for ways to reverse the magic, to give back what I'd given. She called the Botanica in Jamaica Plain, contacted curanderos in New York and Los Angeles, even tried to reach my grandmother in Oaxaca. There has to be a way, she insisted, sitting by my bed on the 4th floor, where I now spent most of my time. Magic that can heal can also restore. There has to be a reversal. Mija, some things can't be undone. Some prices, once paid, are final. I don't accept that. You gave me my life back. Now I'm going to find a way to give you yours. 2 weeks later, Lily made a decision. She'd been accepted back to the Boston Ballet School. Her recovery was so complete that she'd passed their intensive audition and been offered a place in the advanced program. It was everything she'd worked for, everything she'd lost and regained, and she turned it down. I'm not going back to ballet, she told her stunned parents over dinner. I'm going to study medicine instead, neural regeneration specifically. I'm going to understand what happened to me, all of it, the science and the magic, and I'm going to find ways to help other people heal without someone having to die for it. Lily, that's crazy, Maxwell said. You're 13 years old. You have time to do both. No, Dad, I don't want both. I want this. Camilla gave me my life back, and I'm going to use it to do what she did. Help people, heal people, make miracles happen, but in a way that doesn't cost the healer everything. She looked at me then, and I saw my grandmother's determination in her eyes. You told me your daughter teaches in Oaxaca, that she helps kids who don't have resources or opportunities. I want to help too. However long you have left, I want to spend it learning from you. And then I want to carry on what you started. I couldn't speak through my tears. That night, Victoria came to my room with a stack of papers. Immigration lawyers, she said. They say we can get you a U visa. You qualify as a victim of a crime, since you've been working without proper documentation, which is a form of trafficking under federal law. It'll take time, but they can make you legal. And once you're legal, you can bring Rosalba here. She could teach in Boston. You could be together. Victoria, don't thank me. This should have been done years ago. I should have asked about your status, should have helped you protect yourself. I failed you the same way I failed Lily. But I'm trying to do better now. The paperwork began. The lawyers worked quickly, and miraculously, my U visa was approved in record time. Maxwell had called in favors from politicians he'd donated to over the years. Within 6 weeks, I was documented for the first time in 24 years. And Rosalba got her visa to visit. She arrived in November, stepping off the plane at Logan Airport, and when I saw her, my daughter, my heart, I found strength I didn't know I had left. We held each other in the arrivals area, both of us crying, and I felt some of the exhaustion lift. Mama, you're so thin, she whispered. What have you done? Something important, I said. Something I needed to do. She met the Thornhills, met Lily, saw the mansion where I'd spent 7 years of my life, and she understood. You found another daughter, she said one night when we were alone. You gave her what you couldn't give me because I was so far away. I'm not angry, Mama. I'm grateful. You're who you are, and that's someone who saves people. Over the next months, something unexpected happened. I didn't die. I didn't recover. The aging the magic had caused was permanent, and I looked and felt like someone in her 70s. But I stabilized. The doctors couldn't explain it, but Victoria and I knew it was love. Rosalba's presence, Lily's determination, the family that had formed in the aftermath of the healing. And love, it turned out, had its own kind of magic. Rosalba decided to stay in Boston, getting a job teaching Spanish at a bilingual school in Jamaica Plain. Lily threw herself into her studies, shadowing doctors at Massachusetts General Hospital and taking advanced science courses at her school. Maxwell and Victoria renewed their vows in a small ceremony in the living room, with just family present. And when Maxwell said, family, he looked at Rosalba and me. And Marcus Webb? He left Helix Therapeutics 6 months later, pushed out by a board that had grown tired of his aggressive tactics. The company pivoted toward ethical research, consulting with patients about their comfort levels before pursuing any studies. Maxwell credited Lily with teaching him that lesson. 1 year after I'd placed the first charm under Lily's pillow, she performed in a showcase at Boston Ballet School. Not as a student, she'd kept her decision to pursue medicine instead, but as a guest artist. She danced a solo she'd choreographed herself, about death and rebirth, about sacrifice and love. I sat in the audience between Rosalba and Victoria, and I watched Lily fly. When she took her bow, she looked directly at me and mouthed 2 words, thank you. I mouthed back, thank you. Because here's what I'd learned. Miracles don't just happen. They're built from choices in sacrifice and love. They're built by women who decide that some things, some people, are worth everything. Lily had her life back. Rosalba had her mother back. And I had something I'd never expected to have. A family that saw me, valued me, loved me. Was it worth the years the magic took? Worth the aging, the weakness, the permanent toll on my body? Every single day. Sometimes the price of a miracle is everything you have, but if you choose it freely, with love and clear eyes, you'll find that what you gained was worth more than what you gave.